Steven, thank you so much for joining the conversation today. It's such a pleasure to have you here at the SAF Global Summit 2025. And I'm really excited to discuss Boeing's really pivotal role in scaling SAF and the broader path towards decarbonization of the aviation industry.
No, well, thank you for having me here today. It's a real pleasure to be here.
As we all know, Boeing has been pioneering the SAF use for nearly 2 decades, from its first commercial SAF flight back in 2008 to the Echo Demonstrator program and 100% SAF flight with FedEx in 2018. So how has this early initiative informed Boeing's current approach to SAF?
So we look at sustainable aviation fuel in the context of a broader set of tools that will help the aviation industry meet its net zero 2050 ambitions. So first of all, we look at fleet renewal. So every generation of aircraft is roughly 20 to 30% more fuel efficient than the last. So how do we ensure that the fleet is operating with the most up-to-date aircraft possible? Secondly, it's around how do we ensure operational efficiency? How do we work with partners to actually ensure those aircraft that are in the skies today are being optimized in the way that their flights are planned, the way that maintenance is carried out, and there's potentially around another 10 to 15% saving there. Then we look at renewable energy, of which SAF is by far the biggest lever. And this is the biggest opportunity that we have through to 2050. Then we're looking at the advanced technologies, which could inform future aircraft. And then finally, it's the market-based measures like CORSIA or carbon removals. In terms of SAF, you're absolutely correct. We've been working on this for a very long time. We've learned an awful lot from a technical perspective, from how do we ensure that people understand that this is really just jet fuel we're talking about. Once it's blended and approved, it is just jet fuel, and ensuring that in the early days we had that confidence. Now really our role is about how do we ensure this industry can scale. When I say that, really what we're looking at is a finance challenge. How do we convince the banks to make the big investments that are needed now to bring this industry up to the levels of supply that we know are needed for the future markets?
Yes. In terms of the collaborations, Boeing collaborates with partners like Sky NRG, Elder Fells, FedEx, and North Eiffel to scale the SAF globally. So what are the key challenges in building a robust SAF supply chain, and how is Boeing helping to overcome these challenges?
So we're technology agnostic. We're going to need all types of SAF to be able to satisfy the demands of the market in the future. And so when we've partnered with individual suppliers, it's for very different reasons. So if I take Firefly, for example, a company down in the southwest of England, they're producing fuel from human sewage waste. So this is a feedstock that wherever you have people and you have a water treatment system, you can produce SAF. Really interesting pioneering feedstock. That's an example where we're looking at something that's globally scalable and available today at a different cost point. If I take Norsk e-Fuel, Norway and the Scandinavia more generally is probably one of the first places it will make sense to commercialize power to liquid fuel, so fuel made from renewable electricity. In particular, what we like about companies like them is that it's really looking at how do you go that last mile to actually start putting steel in the ground. So there it's less about the technology, more about the business side. So we're trying to learn from different partners and hopefully helping those partners to accelerate their own journey around the world. But also we look at the academic side. We have academic partnerships throughout a number of different countries, really looking at more of the fundamental science. But really now we're really looking at those innovators that can help us to unlock new scale, either through commercialization or through interesting feedstocks.
Yes. With initiatives like Book and Claim, airline and operators can actually access SAF benefits without receiving the physical fuel directly. So how important are such mechanisms in accelerating the SAF adoption?
So we think Book and Claim's got a very, very important role to play. It's a very complex issue. And so first of all, that we haven't got book and claim systems in a lot of national jurisdictions or regional jurisdictions. And we recognize that we need to start sort of building confidence in what book and claim could deliver, potentially at a local and sort of regional level, and then looking to scale it globally. But in principle, what we're likely to see is economic supply of SAF scale potentially faster and disassociated with areas where you may have the higher demand. So that's both an opportunity for the suppliers, but also a challenge for those that are looking to buy SAF. So being able to bridge that gap with book and claim would be really helpful.
Yes. Speaking of the Europe's policy, Europe's Refill EU SAF initiative aims for 6% SAF by 2030 and even 70% by 2050. So what role do government policy and initiatives play in making SAF more economically viable? And how does Boeing engage with regulators and policymakers to create a supportive environment for SAF and eSAF deployment?
So we sit at a very interesting point in the middle of the value chain. So we obviously understand the technical needs of our aircraft. We understand the demands of our customers, but we're also working closely with the fuel suppliers as well and the banks. So when we look at this, we're trying to understand what are the steps that are necessary to unlock project finance. So really, how do you address policy stability? How do you address the perceived technological risks, feedstock risks, construction risks, and offtake risks? Government has a really important role to play in all of these. We've worked very closely through trade associations or through participating in groups like the Jet Zero Task Force to support government as it goes through its decision-making process on how best to support, but also offering innovative ideas, working with partners around ideas like the use of export credit agencies to support SAF plants or the use of defense as a means of supporting SAF.
So, a question for you, Steven. If we are looking forward, what does a fully scaled SAP ecosystem look like? And how quickly do you think the industry can reach a tipping point where SAP becomes widely accessible and cost competitive?
So we're in the hard bit now. Okay, so the hard bit of any transition is the first 5%. Once you get beyond the first 5%, when we look at energy transitions historically, you tend to see tipping points. So it's not unexpected that this moment we're having to put that extra bit of effort in to catalyze the market. But I'm very confident that we're on a trajectory that will see us reach that 5% and go beyond that and reach that trajectory. But the continued support we've had from governments throughout the world, and particularly in Europe, has been incredibly welcome in terms of providing that policy stability that we need to start this market going.
Thank you so much, Steven, for all of your incredible informative insights. And I think it's really clear that Boeing is actually playing such a pivotal role in ecosystem SAF. And I'm looking forward to witnessing the continued impact that Boeing will bring to this industry.
It's a pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.